Like to it.
Stuart,
Yes, Larry.
um, as the outside world appears to be getting crazier um, by the day, do you also see a positive shift in the collective consciousness during this time?
Well, yes, Larry. The only thing I can tell you is COVID and the outside world and all the politics, for me, have made these classes possible. This would not exist if it wasn't for COVID, if it wasn't for all these crazy things going on in the world. And I mean, how I look at this is very simple. I don't see anything as being negative. I see everything in the world as an opportunity for me to transform myself and make it work for me, make it help me grow and get closer to God, grow and have a spiritual life. It teaches me how to get detached from all the nonsense that goes on in the world. And look, is it any worse today than World War II? Is it any worse today than the Vietnam War? Than all the stuff that people went through in the 1960s with the rebelling and segregation. It never changes. The form changes a little bit, but the madness is persistent. And I learned from my teacher how not to identify with it, how to use everything that takes place in life as an opportunity to grow inside myself and to get closer to my spiritual enlightenment. And then nothing is really negative. It's all one's teacher. So it depends upon, people are still coming to the class. It depends upon how one uses it. That really is what this is about. If it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of all of you today. Understand? If it wasn't for things that happened to me, like I had an operation, and mostly because of traveling and the way I was living my life, I wouldn't be sitting here today doing this. And in the last year and a half, I can't even remember when I've had the depth of growth that has taken place because of these classes. So it simply depends upon one's capacity to stop looking and being, distraught by the negativity in the world. How do I use this bullshit to grow? Rudy always said, in order to have an organic garden, you got to have compost. You got to have manure. The compost is all this stuff that goes. How do we transform it into energy that fuels us inside instead of allowing it to take over and destroy our lives? That's what the meditation is about. Understand? It's about learning how to do this. Took me a long time, but years ago, I learned how to do it. How do I make this work for me? How do I, Stuart, get closer to my enlightenment because of all the madness? And I even wrote a book called Madness Falling from the Sky, it doesn't stop. It hasn't stopped since Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden. And then it gets back to, what do we do with it? How do we turn it into compost? All the garbage becomes compost that produces an organic garden inside each and every one of us. And yes, it keeps getting crazier, but I don't think any crazier than, look, I was a young child during World War II, but I can't imagine the Depression, World War II, the Korean War, all the wars that are going on, and starvation all over the world. So I can't remember when the world hasn't been crazy. And when I was younger, I rebelled against it. I marched and protested and finally said, Stuart, no, you have to learn how to use this stuff to grow in your life. How to use it to really build a spiritual life instead of allowing this stuff to destroy you. I hope that's clear because I don't know how else to explain it, you know? But the best metaphor is what my teacher said, you know, you need compost to produce an organic garden, you know? Manure is great compost, you know? Well, the world is full of manure. And we need to learn to transform this into compost that builds a strong inner life instead of sitting around and complaining about it all the time or hiding out in some shelter place that we think protects us from all the madness. It doesn't. Just have to turn the television set on and suddenly it's in your living room.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Larry. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, hello. I have no question, but exceptionally today, I have to leave a little bit earlier because I have to get my child with a babysitter.
It's okay, Paul. It was
So,
great to see you. And
thank
take
you for
care
the
of each other.
meditation and see you next Thursday.
Okay, Paul. God bless you.
Everybody.
Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And then, honestly, you stop complaining. We waste so much energy complaining about all these negative things we see in life. And frankly, I learned years ago, the world we see is nothing more or less than a reflection of our own inner lives. When we're open inside, we learn how to see how to make everything in life work for us, how not to be destroyed by other people's lack of consciousness. And life is a wonderful teacher. That lack of consciousness is always going to be there. Always. As I say, I can't remember a day in my life when the world hasn't been crazy. Not one day. And I've lived a fairly long life now, you know, although I still feel like I'm 25 years old. I've lived a long life. And I can't remember one day when this world hasn't been crazy. And through it all, the level of teachings keep growing and getting more profound and deeper. And that's my only consideration. I'm not interested in the other stuff because the other stuff does nothing but lead right to the grave. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart,
Yes, Laura.
I don't have question too, but just I want to say that I'm much better now and I don't have pain in my body. You told me one day I can go. Sometimes when I can stop, just breathe deeply and let it go. And I'm so happy. It's much better now.
Well, then there should be a deep gratitude for how far you look. You know, I keep telling you this all the time. Maybe you'll hear me. Every time I see you, I remember you when you first came to this, and I see how beautiful you've become. You really, it's wonderful. I mean, there's like a little girl in you now that wasn't there before. And it's wonderful. And you have to accept this and live with it and be grateful for it. And one of the things I always do is I never forget myself a day before I met my spiritual teacher. I never forget it. And it inspires me every day of my to work deeper because I never want to go back to that. Ever, ever. The thought is horrible. And it makes me really go deeper inside and open more and tap a deeper connection with God, spirit, higher energy. So just look at yourself and how far you've come. And to me, it's a joy, Flora, you know? It's a joy to see you in the class looking the way you look. So God bless you and keep working on yourself. Obviously, it's working.
Yes, it is. And thank you. God bless you too.
It's working, dear. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, then there'll be a meditation Thursday. And, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. And once again, I feel very blessed to be able to sit here and do this. It creates a lot of humility inside me that I can be a vehicle for this energy. And I'm just grateful to all of you for being here, for participating in this, and really, helping not only me grow, but each and every one of you to grow and build an inner life that can be connected to spirit. So bless you all and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, hopefully on Thursday. Have a good evening, a good day, wherever you are.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay. Ciao.